A night breeze sighed around them, sending chilly fingers along their spines and rustled away northwards among the trees. Delmaz shivered and snatched a glance at Elminster. The old wizard was scratching at the end of his nose, wearing a bored expression as he looked east. He lifted a finger from his nose. Suddenly, in silvery light, pulsed out and lashed down at the rocks below them. The dark coils of something large and snake-like that Delmare hadn't even seen thrashed and writhed in the radiance. As the light faded and died, they sagged weakly and fell back among the rocks. Elminster sighed. "Still a force to fangs, I see." He murmured something, spread his hands wide, and then raised one arm to point over his head. The air shimmered, and then the night slowly returned. Elminster watched the barrier he'd raised fade into invisibility, nodded in satisfaction, and then said briskly, "Ah, Moonrise, lad." They stood together as the moon sailed out from behind spidery clouds and lit upon the rock-strewn hilltop around them. The Hosmer was cold, hard, and very heavy as Delmare held it. Silver moonlight flashed and glimmered down its naked length as its hands trembled. The old mage turned his head. "Got thy sword? Good. Then lean on it, like you've seen bold warriors do, preening in tap-rooms and inns, and call her out. She'll come, fear ye not, she'll come." Delmare looked at him, face white in the moonlight. She? Delmare heard rather than Elminster raise his eyebrows. "Didn't you know? Melinthra Undra was a noble lady in life," he snorted. "Conduct thyself accordingly." As he spoke, clouds shrouded the moon again, and the gloom of the deep night abruptly returned. Delmare stood in terrified silence, staring into the darkness. "But where is her tomb?" Elminster sighed. "Just call her name, will ye? 'Tis the waiting that terrifies, not the doing." Moonlight came stealing back again faintly. Delmare looked at him and then cleared his throat, raised his blade and called, "Melinthra Undra! Melinthra Undra! Come forth, in my father's name! By the memory of Rorel Rallyhorn, I call thee, Melinthra! Come forth!" Silence answered him. The breeze died and the night grew dark and still. The young warrior looked uncertainly at Elminster, who nodded slowly and silently, and pointed into the darkness in front of Delmare. Amid the moonlit rocks there something moved, something tall and thin, approaching half hidden in the night gloom. Something in grey skirts, with a skeleton face and cold gleaming lights of eyes. Delmare, raising his sword grimly, met those flickering eyes and trembling in sudden cold terror. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Whimpering inside, he urged himself into wild flight away from those old, coldly knowing eyes, but his knees seemed turned to stone. He could only make them tremble. He tried to tear his gaze away, and looked at Elminster for help, and each growing terror sank in utter despair. A low, soft voice, grating from disuse, came out of the darkness from the figure advancing on him, and he heard the words it spoke. "Well met, old friend. It has been too long since you came, but glad I am to see thee. And who is this that you have brought? Who would summon me in Rorlo's name? Do please introduce us." Delmare managed a whimper, then. He would have fallen if Elminster's steadying hand had not fallen on his shoulder, holding his sword, arm and noble, as the undead woman seated herself gracefully on a rock not 3 paces away, and smiled at them. Her face was a little more than bone, but long, flowing, grey-white hair swirled around her shoulders, and her thin-waisted, full-skirted gown of a rotting, faded grey had once been very fine. She wore a gleaming but worn silver tiara, and on her hand was a ring that seemed somehow familiar. "Delmare," Elminster said formally, "put up thy sword and make thy bow to Melinthra Undra, still a lady of Cormyr." Somehow the skeletal face looked sad. "Nay, my old friend, I left all that behind me before I died, and I have heard of what was said about me. I do not think they would welcome me home, even were I alive and whole." She raised a hand that was more bone than flesh to brush an errant lock of hair from her face as she spoke. Most of it fell out of touch. Delmar gulped speechlessly, but somehow found himself going to one knee, Elminster's firm hand on his shoulder forcing him down. He kept a tight grip on his sword, though. Even if the mage had betrayed him, Delmar Rallyhorn wasn't going to die without a fight. "Not so, lady," Elminster said gently. "I have spoken with Azun of this month past. He assured me that they could not ensure thy safety if ye came to court, with all the headstrong and heavily armed young nobles of all wizards and the superstitious elite guard, known as the Purple Dragons, were always hanging about. He would make ye most welcome if befits thy family, thy title, and thy good character and loyalty to the crown, as made known to him by this late father and by Venga Dahast, his court wizard. He even bade me to bring ye thy heir, and ye know who carries on thy lineage now." There was a silence, and then undead creature replied huskily, "Gods thank thee, Elminster, true heart, as I thank thee." From the sobbing tone, Delmar realized she was weeping. Elminster's hand, still on his shoulder, steered him to seat upon a large and cold rock. Delmar gripped Dulcimer tightly and wondered just who in the name of all the gods this creature of undeath was. "Delmar," Elminster asked gently, "does destroying a lich still seem so simple a thing as it did when you set out the Rallyhorn Hall?" Delmar stared at the grey, half-seen thing facing them and licked his lips. "Who? What is she? How does she know you?" "We are old friends," Elminster replied, "and the Lady Malinthra is an Arc Lich. To put it very simple, a good lich. But where are thy manners, lad? You speak of her as if she were a hound or a horse, or not here. Speak to her thyself in civilly. Hast a tongue still, lad, surely?" Delmar stared at him for a moment and took a deep breath. He turned back to face the grey-gowned Arclick, met those cold lights of eyes as steadily as he could, and asked, "Pray forgive me, lady. I did not mean to offend. This is my first journey alone in the world, and I'm unsure of what is properly said and done. I will tell thee truth. I came here to destroy thee with this, my father's sword. What can you tell me of his death? To stay me in avenging his honor and winning my own?" There was silence. After a long stillness, Elminster said, "That was well said, lad. Pray forgive me, Malinthra. I did not mean to hurt thee by this visit." "No forgiveness is due either of ye," came a very quiet reply, and her voice told Delmar that the Lady Archlich had been weeping again. "This meeting comes late enough as it is." Her voice grew stronger. "Know, Delmar, that I was not thy father's bane. He came here because of me, but it was pure mischance and the evil or lawless men that brought about his fall." She stood up. Delmar's heart leaped in sudden fear and pointed into the darkness. 14 attacked him down there. Outlaws, brigands. He was one alone. I heard him cry out, but was too weak to aid him because of what I had become. He struggled all the way up to where we sit here and made his stand among these rocks. They fled at last when he defied them with 2 blades through his body, fighting on until they screamed that he must be undead or worse, and fled. At least 6 of them fled. The rest died here, all over Moondown, by his hand that day. Thy father died a hero, Delmar. She sat down once again. Her voice, when it came again, was much smaller. "And yet, hero or no, he still died. I could not save him." "He was surely hurt, Malinthra," Elminster said gently. "The failure was not thine. Thy magic could never have been enough with the wounds he bore." "I know that," said the Archlet fiercely, her hair billowing around her health skeleton face in the sudden shaft of moonlight. "And yet it makes the memories no easier. I now know that what it means to have great shadow upon one's heart, lying all over one's days and deeds. To know that there was nothing I could have done to make it easier." She fell silent in the darkness. Moonlight came and went away, and the wind sighed amid the rocks. Elminster said suddenly, what else would ye speak of besides thy father's fall? Thy regent sent ye to learn of the world beyond lessons. Here's an opportunity few will have. Who walked the realms this night? Speak! Me? Delmare asked. What would I want to know? That? Tell me of yourself, Delmare, said the Archlich with sudden fierceness. What was your youth like in Cormyr? What was the kingdom like now? What are the women wearing? What jests do the men trade when they think the women cannot hear? Who feuds with whom? Who is rich and what do they waste their coins on? I am so lonely, Delmare. Tell me! Delmare stammered and stumbled and then found himself talking, answering endless questions about life in Rallyhorn Hall and the things and doings of rumors of Cormyr. Later, and Delmare thought the things to ask, and he did. Elminster sat nearby and smoked a noisome pipe that sent green smoke curling up around them, and said little. The other two talked long, the Archlich telling Delmare of kings now dust and deeds of long ago, until at last pale grey dawn lightened the eastern sky and morning chill awakened the mists. And in the end, Delmare sheathed his father's sword and bid the half-skeleton lich glad parting. She rose in a silent shifting of grey skirts, bent and kissed both him and Elminster goodbye and Godspeed. Her lips left a chill tingling on Delmare's cheek that faded very slowly. Come and visit when you can, she said. It can be lonely here, with only the stars to talk to. She turned silently then and went away underground, leaving them alone in the brightening morning. Delmare stared after her for a long time without speaking. Elminster stood beside him in companionable silence until Delmare stirred and sighed. She scares me very much, and yet I like her, and am proud that she calls me friend. The world is stranger than I thought. Elminster smiled. Aye, then ye have learned something. Come back to visit when you can, and I'll bring you here again. The old mage ran his fingers through his long beard and added, Come not alone, though. Lady Melinda is not the only lich in Myth Draenor. It hides worse things than liches, too, and far worse than the thing that wanted you for even feast. They walked for a while, westwards through the trees, leaving the haunted ruin behind. From its depths, something shrieked unearthly and high. Delmare shivered, but did not look back. So, the old mage asked gently, Do you still feel the need to avenge thy father's death? Delmare nodded. I must hunt down the bandits who escaped him, he said grimly. Cold light flashed far behind them in the ruins. He looked back this time, but only saw shattered spires reaching towards the stars like blackened fingers protruding vainly out of a grave. Elminster shook his head. None still live. Melinda found and slew them, one by one, for she and thy father were very close. They were? Delmare asked, remembering the familiar ring on the Archlet's bony finger. It was the Rallyhorn ring. Elminster sighed. Lad, he said despairingly, did they not even tell thee who thy mother was? The Lady Melinda Unja Shalvin Rallyhorn, once a sorceress of pride and power in Cormyr, who fell very ill and went away to die. She used her art to achieve lichdom, but could not save her lord's life. Delmare gasped. Melinda? My mother? It cannot be. Elminster smiled. Ah, he said simply, reaching out a hand to grasp Elmare's arm and use a spell that would take them back to Shadowdown Aelith. There's that fool's word cannot. You haven't learned all that much about the world yet, after all.